Hey everyone, it's Zack Beck. President Biden signed the $1.9 trillion American Rescue Plan into law. This is to help struggling Americans due to the pandemic, as well as boost the economic long-term prospects of the United States of America. Now, this bill was expensive, $1.9 trillion, including everything from unemployment benefits, direct stimulus payments to you, as well as other measures going to state and local governments, rental assistance, and even a child tax credit. So what I want to do in this video is break down in detail the amount that you should expect to receive from this new stimulus proposal, as well as the plays that you could actually make right now to help utilize these funds to help you secure your financial future long term. So let's take our time, dive into the details, and jump into it right now. Now, the income thresholds are a little bit different for this proposal in the following manner. If you as an individual file your taxes individually and make less than $75,000, you should expect to receive a full $1,400 stimulus payment from the federal government. In addition, if you are a head of household making $112,500 or less, then you should expect to receive a $1,400 stimulus payment as well. Now, if you are married filing jointly and make less than $150,000 for your adjusted gross income, then you also should receive a check of $1,400. Now, these payments will go to millions of Americans and really should assist people right now in this present moment. Furthermore, eligible families who have dependents can actually receive a payment of $1,400 as well. So if you're a married couple filing jointly and make less than $150,000, and let's say you do have a dependent, you could receive a check up to $3,600 as a result of this bill. You might be asking yourself, when will I receive this stimulus payment? It really all depends upon how you file your taxes. Now, if you file your taxes electronically and do direct deposit, you should expect to receive your payments very soon. However, if you do your taxes and actually file them via mail, you could expect this to take a considerable amount of time. Just for some context, back when the first stimulus was passed associated with the CARES Act, I had my taxes filed by mail, so I actually never received a physical copy of that stimulus payment. I had to wait until I filed my 2020 taxes in order to actually claim it and receive the payment that way. This new stimulus package included an additional payment of $300 going into your account every single week moving forward for the next few months. Unemployment benefits are issued through the state, so there's going to be a bit of a lag time associated with how they're going to actually disperse this. The deadline was March 14th for unemployment benefits to expire. Like I said, now it's pushed to the end of September at $300 a week. So hopefully that provides you a bit more comfort and stability financially. Hopefully you can get back into the workplace, either into the same job you had, or you can navigate into a different position. And I make a lot of videos about how you can navigate in the job market right now because the economy is changing. We're going towards more automation, more technology, more streaming, all these different things. So if you need to have different tools and resources to do so, feel free to check out some of those videos on my channel. I hope they can encourage you because I just want you to be successful achieving your long-term career goals, but also being able to provide the finances that you need to support yourself and your family, and also so that we can overall achieve your goals. The American Rescue Plan includes a major change, albeit temporary change, to the child tax credit. What it's going to do is allow there to be a child tax credit for up to $3,000 for a child that you have aged 6 to 17. In addition, it will provide a child tax credit of up to $3,600 for every child you have that's under the age of 6. Hopefully get children the nutrition and the finances that their family need to be able to move forward and do all of the things they need to do by achieving goals in school and actually just being able to grow financially and achieve their long-term goals as a family as a whole. One of the most popular plans put into place by the CARES Act was actually the Paycheck Protection program. And what is happening is that the American Rescue Plan is continuing to add funds into that. They're going to allocate another $7.25 billion into the PPP plan. And if you're not familiar with what that is, basically they are forgivable loans for small businesses. So if you run a small business right now and are trying to operate one, but you're just needing to maintain payroll or your overall overhead expenses, you might want to consider looking into this. One of the ways that you can benefit most from the American Rescue Plan is if you stimulate the like button for the YouTube algorithm. I'm just kidding, but if you wouldn't mind tapping that like button, that would actually help the channel out a lot. And also, it doesn't cost you anything. It's not going to cost taxpayers anything. It doesn't add anything to the federal deficit or debt, and it doesn't hurt our economy at all. It should only help our economy by pushing this video to other people who could then make wise financial decisions for their future. So how much money will you receive as associated with the stimulus package? Well, it really depends upon your personal situation. Like I already outlined, you should expect to receive a stimulus check of $1,400 if you're filing individually and make less than $75,000, or if you're filing jointly as a married couple and make less than $150,000 for your adjusted gross income. Furthermore, if you received unemployment benefits, those benefits will be tax-free up to $10,200 because of this new proposal. Then if you factor in that if you have children, you're actually going to receive a tax credit of $3,000 for any of your children age 6 to 17, or you're going to receive $3,600 for any child under the age of 6. Also, if you have dependents, someone who's over the age of 17 that you could claim as a dependent, that would actually give you another payment of $1,400. So there's a lot of possibilities for you to receive a substantial amount of money. 37% of individuals actually plan to invest part of their stimulus check into the stock market. Now, if you specifically are considering investing part of your overall stimulus check into the stock market, I want to give you a couple of guidance points that I think are very helpful. Once again, bearing in mind, I'm just a dude on YouTube. I don't know everything about finances. I'm just telling you the way in which I proceed, and it's been able to be beneficial for me financially so far. Now, there's a few approaches that you can take. If you just want to invest into individual stocks, you can do so. Now, this is a bit riskier, requires you to do more research. You could hit it big and actually get a stock at a low price and it could grow over time, or you could hit it wrong and actually buy a stock that's too high right now that ends up collapsing, or a stock that's very volatile. Think about what just recently happened with GameStop, where it was up, it went down, and now it's back up again, and now it's kind of going all over the place. So if you do want to go the individual stock route, I just recommend that you do a lot of research on the companies. I actually have links below for Robinhood and WeBull, and you could actually claim free stocks if you deposit on the platform to be able to receive those. So if you want to get started in that respect, it's totally fine, just requires more research. Now, if you want to go more the index fund approach, that's generally the bigger approach that I specifically take, where you invest into a broad index of funds and you don't actually have to specifically pick individual stocks. It's a little more of a balanced approach, a bit more passive. If you want to do that and get your first $500 managed for free, feel free to click the link in the description for Wealthfront. That's an application that you can use. It's very passive, streamlined, and automated. Now, setting that aside, I just want to let you know that if you're planning to invest into the stock market, you should expect a bit of risk associated with that, but without risk, you do not get reward. So take that into consideration. It might be worth doing so if you're financially whole right now, but if you have other priorities such as paying off debt or big bills that you need to associate yourself with, you really should focus on that, because that's the overall intention of the stimulus payment, hopefully to make yourself financially whole to get through this pandemic so that way you can come out on the other side a little bit stronger than you were before. Now, one thing to bear in mind is all of this spending that's going on, totaling over the last pandemic, has totaled $5.4 trillion. So this spending comes at a cost. There's going to be additional things that we're going to have to think about as investors, as individuals. What's going to happen? Are we going to see taxes potentially raised? Are we going to see additional stimulus in the future that might cost more? Are we going to see our deficit continue to skyrocket? Are we going to see inflation? Got to be aware of that, because if we have inflation, that could affect the markets and affect your portfolio. So all of these things are interrelated, and that's why it's so important for us to be able to get through this pandemic right now and out of this, so that way we can actually begin to have more stable footing financially, not just for our personal finances, but for our collective finances in our communities and in our governments. That way we can just move ahead and not have to be so concerned about what's going on in the economy. We can just focus on our personal finances, continuing to invest, cutting spending, saving money where we can, avoiding lifestyle inflation, avoiding debt, and then investing into the markets, into things that can help us grow our overall net worth long term. So there are also a few popular things that did not make their way into the bill. The first is a minimum wage increase. It had been talked about on the campaign trail, as well as in the most recent news cycles that we saw over the last number of weeks, the possibility of including a $15 minimum wage across the United States as part of the federal government's overall requirements. Now, this did not make it into the bill for actually a very interesting reason. The parliamentarian in the Senate said that it could not be used as part of budget reconciliation. For those who are not familiar, the Senate is right now split between 50 Democrats and 50 Republicans, so therefore they are tied, and the tie-breaking vote, if there's a 50-50 vote, is actually conducted by the Vice President, who right now is Kamala Harris. So the Democrats technically have a majority in the Senate, but they cannot afford to lose a single vote. So in order for them to be able to actually pass anything, they need 50 votes plus one, and in order to pass a budget, you can actually do this through budget reconciliation. Any other larger piece of legislation that they do that are not associated with a budget actually require 60 votes to clear what's called a filibuster. So by doing that, that's going to require a lot of people to buy in, and you will need 10 Republicans to join. So that hopefully requires more bipartisan, moderate language that could go in there. So the minimum wage did not make it into this bill, and that's highly likely that if any sort of minimum wage increase occurs in the future, it probably will be less than the $15 that was originally proposed. I would expect something closer to between $10 and $12, as what's been reported recently by more moderate senators in the Senate who've said they might be willing to go that route. And that's because this minimum wage increase isn't necessarily partisan in the sense where only Democrats support it or only Republicans don't, because actually people on both sides of the aisle have said they need to do something about this because it hasn't been changed since the time we had the Great Recession. So if you're someone who's making minimum wage right now, I'm sure you can relate to this, saying that it needs to be increased for people to be able to actually pay, normal rent and do other things, hopefully being able to move into a career field that pays higher than just minimum wage. But that is something that is not part of this bill, but probably will happen as part of a different proposal at a later time that will probably bring the rate a little bit lower, maybe between $10 to $12 an hour. Now, another thing that did not make it into the American Rescue Plan was student loan forgiveness. Now, it has been talked about once again for quite some time that people are wanting to forgive student loans. And right now, President Biden has said that he wants to try and do a $10,000 forgiveness of student loans. One thing that we have changed in the tax code right now is that any federal government student loans that are forgiven are going to be considered tax-free now through January 1st of 2026. So that's a pretty significant change. So if you actually end up receiving some form of student loan forgiveness, that will be a financial benefit to you, not just in the sense of having that loan forgiven, but it will also be tax-free. So I would expect this proposal to come back once again. It's going to require additional votes, probably done with a little bit more of the Republican senators joining, and we could see some form of student loan forgiveness. Now, I'm not here to debate whether that is a good or a bad thing. I'm just telling you that is what is most likely going to occur, and it hopefully will financially help those individuals who have it forgiven, but also bring financial benefit to those as taxpayers who are actually helping to foot this bill, because we don't want to have this inequality associated with that. We want to make sure that those who actually paid their student loans, who didn't take out student loans, who are going to benefit from this, not just individuals who are having student loans right now. Passage of the American Rescue Plan has been received positively by the stock market, with all the major indexes up over the last little period of time, and we're seeing this as people are expecting the stock market for a lot of this money to actually flow into equities. And once again, if you're someone right now who's expecting to receive a stimulus payment, you should really be cautious about how you're going to allocate those finances. Like I said before, if you have any sort of outstanding debt, it might be worth considering allocating some of this stimulus payment into that. Furthermore, if you're actually expecting you to need any of this finances for rent, for your mortgage, for your transportation, for your utilities, for your food, for anything of your basic necessities, it really should be allocated in that direction. Now, it might not be financially as beneficial for you to go into the stock market with this revenue, depending upon your personal financial situation. If you have an outstanding debt balance with a 10% interest rate, it would be much more beneficial financially to actually allocate your money towards that, as opposed to putting it into a stock that might not even produce that type of annual 10% return, and you're not going to receive all those benefits long term. So that's just something to take into consideration. Once again, just my insight, just telling you what I would do if I was in your situation, but I believe that this is a positive thing, that you're going to have some additional revenue. Hopefully you can allocate in a wise way that will help you long term achieve your financial goals. You might be asking yourself, is there going to be more stimulus after the American Rescue Plan? The answer actually is yes. There's a new proposal already being touted by the Biden administration called the Build Back Better proposal. Now, this is more focused on manufacturing and infrastructure, and it's more of a clean energy initiative where we would actually see finances and tax credits going towards industries that are producing electric cars, think Tesla, and think about other new renewable energies as well, and then trying to produce more goods here in the United States to compete on the global scale with other countries like China. So from that standpoint alone, this proposal is actually going to cost $4 trillion, but that's over the course of 10 years. So we should expect some additional language coming out soon where we could actually analyze this in greater detail. It's not something that you or I should expect a stimulus check associated with it, but we should just expect additional government spending. And like I already said, we have seen over $5.4 trillion worth of stimulus spending by the federal government since this pandemic began. So that should cause all of us to take a step back and think about the long-term implications of inflation, as well as anything associated with future tax increases that might occur. So just something for us to be aware of as investors, as individuals who want to make wise decisions right now that can help us achieve our goals in the future. But overall, I just want to report this to you so you can be positioned right now and know how you can allocate your finances in the most effective manner possible. With all that being said, I'd like to thank you for watching the video today. If you wouldn't mind, please like the video. That would really help the channel out for the YouTube algorithm, help push this video to other people who might need to hear it. Furthermore, if you wouldn't mind, please comment down below. I'd love to interact with you, get to know you, do any research on your behalf, and help answer any questions that you might have so that you can make wise decisions moving forward. Furthermore, if you wouldn't mind, please subscribe to the channel. That would mean a lot to myself personally, as I do everything I can to create positive content that hopefully makes a positive impact in your life by encouraging you and myself to lead lives of meaning and purpose, all while maintaining balance and moderation. And if you do subscribe to the channel, please tap the notification bell. That will notify you every time I post a video, which I do on a weekly basis. Once again, I'd like to thank you for watching the video today. I hope you have a wonderful day. Talk to you next time.